Welcome everybody to the September HubCap meeting.
Johanna Elhart from the new Crown Hill Hub.
Hi, Ellen Stecker from the Roosevelt Hub.
Linda Norland from Lakewood Seward Park Hub.
Cindy Barker, Morgan Junction.
Jim Durand, Finney Hub.
Ed Falk, South Wallingford. I'm here with Mary, but she's in the kitchen right now, just out of sight of the camera.
Matt Blank is having some audio issue. He is from the Ravenna Hub.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kim Wakefield, and Johanna and I are the new co-chairs for the Crown Hill Hub.
Pat Morrick, and I'm one of two captains in Broadview.
Frank Goll, Magnolia.
Hi, I'm Rita Whitman. This is
John Kimball.
and we are co-captains as for the South Highland Park Emergency Hub that is just coming back online, actually.
Good evening, everyone. Peter Honey, Madison Valley Hub.
Liz Riggs-Meter, one of two co-captains for the Pinehurst Hub.
Scott, I'm the other Broadview captain with Pat.
Chris Paulus, Capitol Hill.
Bill Fay here with Queen Anne Hub.
Rainier Beach Hub.
Welcome, Ron.
Catherine from Hummer Harris Hub.
Hi, I'm one of the new captains for Admiral.
Welcome, everybody. This is a really good group. We are recording. I'm just going to start going down the agenda. The first thing is Hub email transition. A little bit about that. Matt, I think he has dropped. Oh, there he is again. Matt, if you can hear me, are you able to talk about the email migration?
Email migration. So basically this pertains to the HubCap's email list, which, is where we typically share information and links. Anybody on the list can send to it and it gets relayed out, but we've had a lot of issues with the security. A lot of recipient email services are blocking it or having trouble. So working on migrating to a new host and updating some of the security settings to make it more legitimate, make it look more legitimate, and hopefully resolve the issues with certain people not being able to resolve or receive certain emails. And Cindy's been working around that for a while by sending stuff from her personal account. So hopefully cutting down on the administrative burden there and cutting down on people receiving multiple emails if you are getting the HubCap's email. So yeah, looking to make the switch over the next couple of weeks, and it should be a seamless transition, so there shouldn't be anything to really notice except that we'll stop having those multiple emails coming in, and people should get information quicker.
Thanks, Matt. Our next one is community engagement training for HubCaps. Cindy, I'll talk about this briefly, and then you can just fill in blanks if you want.
Okay, and then we skipped an item, so I'll do that after.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. So Cindy and I have been talking with the Department of Neighborhoods, whose job is to help us build community. We're trying to pick their brains and have them dump their brains into our brains about how to build community. And the class that they're trying to put together is a little slower going than what we expected. We were hoping to start offering these classes in different sectors, different parts of the city in 2024, but I think we have punted it to 2025. We're trying to make sure that if we pull you guys in for a meeting, that it is truly worth your time. It's just on hold for a little bit, trying to get them to give us what's really useful information. Anything you wanted to say, Cindy?
Yeah, and it's for people, COVID has slowed us down on doing a lot of our work in our communities to talk to people about the hubs. And so the focus on this comes under our retreat item of, help support the hubs by giving you better tools to do things. And some people, have never really organized meetings. Some people are not well plugged into their community. So this is kind of a reprise of, community engagement to help make you more successful and feel more positive about doing it if you have the skills, or at least the exposure of ideas of how to make it easy on you.
And Cindy, I'm just going to give you the floor still for the distribution of backpacks.
Yeah, and they were tied actually because we have started distributing swag to hubs that asked for it. So that was the stuff that came out of the backpacks. And then in our last one of our past meetings, we talked about how we were going to give each hub 4 backpacks that had MREs and water in them. And then that way you could either keep it with your key volunteers so that they could show up and have food and water, to work a shift. It was a kind of a starter. And we were trying to figure out how to distribute them. They're all living in a storage unit right now. So what I'd like to do is start handing them out every time we have in-person events. And the first one we thought we were going to have was this training from the Department of Neighborhoods. I'll bring a bunch of those, and if you can tell me if you're going to be there, I'll bring the 4 that go to your hub, and that way we can start getting them into your hands and distribute it out. So I should have thought of that for the radio class that we had, but anybody who's ready to have their backpacks, I can also do deliveries, but let's start getting those in your hands.
The next one is standardized training. So again, this came out of the retreat. We were trying to figure out what classes are we teaching to help engage community, and then to get our volunteers more just trained on how the hub operates. So Cindy and I sat down and kind of dumped our brains onto a piece of paper on what classes we teach and kind of the order in which we think they ought to be taught. You guys thankfully are pushing the boundaries and pushing us to be better and to delve deeper into this. So thank you for everybody that's kind of pushing the boundaries. That's lovely. So anyway, we'll put it down on paper. Just recently got it to the Hub Standardization Training Committee. I'm screwing up that name, but basically their job was to look at these classes and give us some feedback on, does it make sense? And could we, if we wrote the agenda well enough and put some slides together and maybe some handouts and that kind of stuff, could Cindy and I pass these off to some of our more seasoned hub volunteers, our hub captains, and have them teach maybe for their sector? So anyway, that's in the process. We've got some really good feedback from the team already. Really excited about just kind of comparing where their brains are and where Cindy and our brains are. So anyway, it's coming. Nothing permanent, but it is in the works. So that is standardizing the training that our hub volunteers get to help them work the hub. But Linda Nordland's going to talk about the promotion committee. Just a real quick update on that.
Okay, so one of the other things that came out of the February retreat is a promotion committee that it consists of 4 people. That's Matt Blank and Gabrielle and Erica Harnett and me. And what we wanted to do is look at the whole picture, and we're going to be looking at the whole picture of strategy, messaging, the website, the newsletter, the whole enchilada. But what we wanted to do first is see what PR pieces do we already have. And so we have combed through the certain folders anyway of the Google Drive to see what current things we use to promote the hub. So what we're interested in is the things that we give to the public to promote us, not just signs or forms, but these are promotional materials. All right, so basically I'm just going to talk you through this. It's pretty simple. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be sending out an email to everybody, all the hub captains, and I'll send this document that actually shows you what we already have. And we have brochures and so forth that you are all aware of, but what not everybody may be aware of is that some hubs have customized those brochures. For example, there's 4 different hubs that have created inserts for the trifold, and some have created customizable versions of a trifold. And there's one, I think Jim, you from created one from Finney Ridge called Organizing Neighbors. We've got all those in the file. So what I want to do is send you out a summary of this inventory of what we've already got. And then I know there's things out there that we don't have, and especially flyers, because we have flyers from the drills that the whole hub network created, but I know a lot of you create flyers. We don't want every little dashed off one that you've made since, you know, for the last 6 years. But if you have some that you think are pretty good and that would be worth emulating, or parts of it would be worth emulating for the rest of us, we would like to see them. And so I've created a folder on the Google Drive, and I'm gonna send you a link, and I'll put it on the chat tonight, but I'll also send you an email of where to put those. We're interested in, as I said, the brochures that you've customized. We already have also we have a couple of banners, and we're not interested again in signage, just the name of your hub or directional signage. What we're looking for are banners that have a message on them. There was a very nice one at the Laurelhurst drill last Saturday that says, you know, neighbors are the help until help arrives. After disaster, we will gather and support one another. And then it says 1, 2, 3, 4, what the hub does. A banner like that has messaging in it, we're interested in that. We've got that one on the drive. I don't know, by the way, Cindy or Ann, does that one belong to the hub network, or was that Laurelhurst banner?
That was created in conjunction with the Ballard hubs.
Okay.
But yeah, the generic version is available for whomever.
Right.
I think there might be a couple hubs that have it.
Right. So this is what we're actually trying to do, is find shareable things that really multiple hubs could benefit from. And we will be doing some evaluation of what things are working and what things are maybe less valuable, and also trying to create some templates for things if you find them valuable, and we'll be surveying you to find out what those are. We have some copy that is potentially valuable. We have some preparedness tips month by month, and you created some of those. We've got some from a Wedgwood hub. We've got some PSAs that were created a couple of years ago. There's a file about the teachable moment possibility with no content yet. Might be investigating that. There's some newsletter copy that Madison Park created for a number of years that they've shared. So all those things, what I want you to do is look at this, and if it's already shared, it's already on the drive, you don't have to give it to us. But if you see something that's, you know, of something that's missing there, that's what we want. I think some of you have done some promotion with apparel or badges or stickers and things. We don't have those. So, you know, any of that we would be interested in seeing. So that's basically it. And does anybody have any questions about that?
Once those things are on the drive and they're shareable, what format are people putting them in? Because like, I don't use Canva, and I know Ann, you are using Canva. So are they going to be standard?
Some of these people have made their brochures in different programs. If they're truly customizable, they've got to be editable, so they can't just be a PDF. But if I would say whatever you've got, just put it on there. We're more interested in the content and design, because probably a lot of these things are going to have to be reworked in order to make them actually useful for everybody. So I'm skeptical that very many of them are going to be usable right as they are. If they are, great, but that's fine. And if you have more than one version of it, you put them both on.
I have something to add if there's no more questions.
Yeah.
The committee is looking at the multiple tools we have for doing outreach, and two of the other tools are, of course, our website and our newsletter. And I have been asking someone to pick up doing the newsletter since I'm going to retire 3 years ago thing. So I put out my last newsletter that I'm going to do all the content creation. What's really easy is that the first one in 2025, you know, we'll have, here's what we did in 2024. But I wanted to put it out there for everybody to start thinking that right after Christmas, I'll be asking your hubs, each of you, for what you think you're going to be doing in 2025. And that's what should go into that newsletter, so that we can tease our 2,500 newsletter readers with what's coming up this year. I know that we won't have dates or anything like that, but it's nice to be able for a person who lives in a part of Seattle to say, hey, my hub is active, my hub is, going to do some outreach, or they're looking to do more training or whatever. Just something so people can see themselves in their neighborhoods as part of this training and continuity of preparedness. So just a heads up, everybody. And it's like, you don't have to write a paragraph, just a couple sentences.
Thanks, Cindy.
Okay.
Anything else? So the committee has met twice. We're committed to forging ahead. And so I will send this out probably within the day. And I'm hoping you'll respond with anything we're missing, because we'd like to get a good handle on what we've already got. So, thanks.
Hi, everybody. This is Gabrielle. I guess I'm going to take over from here. Sorry, I was late. So it looks like the next item is supporting struggling hubs, and Pat Mork is going to talk us through that.
So this is another item from the retreat, a very small group consisting of Anne and Jody from Ballard and yours truly here. Where our goal was to offer support to help hubs thrive. And what we came up with is hub captain would reach out to some individuals, other hub captains that they see as comfortable building community. They're comfortable in their role as a hub captain. They have something that you're seeking or whatever. And they would together form a team. The hub captain would also complete a questionnaire that we've roughed out. We're thinking a small group, 2 or 3 people, because that would be more conducive to scheduling, getting together. And these get-togethers could be in person or Zoom meetings, whatever the little group would decide on. Before the first meeting, the members of the group would kind of review the information that they received in the questionnaire. And the first meeting would probably primarily consist of teasing out what the main issue might be and helping the hub captain formulate kind of their first steps. And the team members would take notes and provide encouragement to the hub captain to work on, maybe the first step toward working on that issue. Somebody could give them a reminder or check in with them in the interim, and they would keep meeting until this issue is resolved. And it might be actually physically showing up, and, maybe the issue would be giving a talk to a community council, and, you could say, well, I'll go with you, and, I've got your back there. And that could be very helpful. But the helping team members aren't doing the work. They're just being supportive. After the issue is resolved or whatever, if there are other issues, this whole process could be repeated. So it's, how can I help you? It's not our place to necessarily do the work for the hub captain. We have a questionnaire.
So this is the write-up of what Pat was just explaining. Not necessarily a static group. People can come and go as they need to. If the hub captain does not seem to be following through on their chosen assignments, team members can step away. If a team member is not deemed helpful by the hub captain can ask them to step back from the group. So just trying to find the people that are helpful to the struggling hub captains. Not our place to tell a hub captain what they should do. And then here's the questionnaire. Really kind of generic kinds of questions to get a feel for what your situation looks like. And then the big one is, what can we help you tackle first?
I'd ask a question. Would this group ever reach out, or is it only one way that the hub cap would reach out? to try to form their own group? Is that the idea, that it would always be initiated at the hub level?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say it would be initiated by the struggling hub captain. What we're trying to avoid is if you raise your hand and say you're struggling, we don't want 3 hub captains to tell you what you should be doing. Because I think we all understand that that just makes us feel worse. We know this is a tough job. We know there's a million things we could be doing. Sometimes I think we just need a little support to help us do the things that might get us out of a slump. So that's kind of what this supportive group should be for. Not to make you feel worse, but maybe to give you a little encouragement that you can move your hub forward. I think most of the hubs that are on this call are kind of the active, kind of the proactive ones. So I don't know that this is the target audience right here. I don't know. You guys might feel that way.
I don't know that they would call themselves struggling, but we have a lot of new ones too, so anything we can do to help the new ones that's along those lines of, hey, we know the lessons, this is a hard thing to do, to collect your first team and keep track of them and motivate them.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's almost more broadly, peer-to-peer support from hub captain to hub captain, whether you're quote unquote struggling or you just need, some startup, assistance. But the message being, as you said, Anne, I'm just going to speak frankly, a more experienced hub captain telling the other ones what they should be doing, but it's more like, how can we help you?
Yeah. Maybe you just need somebody to go to whatever, the community council with you, moral support kind of thing. Whatever you need, somebody can probably help.
All right, any other questions? Okay.
Gabrielle, real quick, I think this program is, I think your job is done, Pat and Jody. You've rolled it out. I don't know what else. Yeah. I guess we can wait to see if there's feedback from anybody that tries it.
What there was a survey to take, right?
No, there's a questionnaire that a hub captain that's asking for a team would fill out.
To go to their mentor?
Yes, so that the mentor team can get some information about the hub and the neighborhood and what the issues are.
I'm going to take a look at your questions, and we have our little small group. We're always kind of struggling, and so thank you for that input.
Good. Yeah, let us know what you think about the questions.
Who's going to play matchmaker?
I would say, it'll be either a hub captain will contact another hub captain. They may have to do that through Anne or Cindy, but once they're identifying themselves, I think they will be looking at other people. So hopefully they'll have, the only way I can see that they know other people is by listening in on some of these meetings, unless they've met people in their sector, close by.
Yeah, I think the matching is done by the hub captain. They can certainly reach out to Cindy or I, but
that's what I was going to say. We know so many people, and you may have not seen someone just because you weren't at common meetings, but we could go, oh, I know someone near you who has actually gone through exactly those same things. We can be date makers, matchmakers.
Make it known to new hubs and also to existing hubs that might need some help.
Okay. How about Pat and I work on a separate email, like in a week or so after this meeting, where the only topic is this program. So if they're reading that email, it won't get buried in with the rest of the meeting, and we can highlight the program then. Go ahead, Joanna.
I thought you were going to be the permanent mentor for Kim and I.
Yeah.
No,
yes
seriously.
and no.
I mean, I didn't know that this was going to be a process in terms of kind of getting a foundation of support for Kim and I. I knew you were going to mentor us for the next couple of months because we got the
Yeah.
grant coming out. We're trying to do our first meeting. We have to do the job, the box thing, and get that all fixed out. But it never occurred to me that you wouldn't be a permanent mentor. I was thinking that being Crown Hill, and I already have a sort of a little bit of a relationship with Jody, who I guess couldn't be here tonight. She's out of town. And whoever's in Broadview, I would think that locally, those hub captains might be able to help Kim and I because of proximity. And
Yes.
Loyal Heights, Carol in Loyal Heights could probably be part of that.
Cheryl.
Right, you got the
Mhm.
concept right? Or
Yeah, I think the idea of, so absolutely use me to
Right.
support and to get the North Seattle hubs up and running. I think the program that we're talking about is more for those hub captains that have been around for a while
Oh,
and just don't feel like they have much energy behind them. And I also think that reaching out to folks that are around you that seem to be doing well is really smart, as opposed to somebody that's on the opposite side of the city kind of thing.
Johanna, I'd just say I'm up in Broadview, and I like the idea of our neighboring hubs being helpful to each other. So, if you have my contact information, I'd be happy to have coffee with you and, just shoot the breeze.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be great, Pat.
Thank you, Pat. That was great. And Ann, let's move on. Next item, video index available and how to get census info from maps easily. Not sure if that's false advertising, Chris, but there it is. Chris Paulus is up
We'll
next.
find out.
We'll find out.
This also was an item that came out of the retreat, cleaning up our files and making things more accessible. So that'll be the guide to videos part.
So this came up at the hub retreat. We have all these great videos, but especially if you're a new hub who's joining, it can be intimidating, that there's something in the videos that are interesting. So I spent a lot of time and went through and manually indexed all of the hub videos that are on the Seattle Emergency Hub YouTube page. So so it's a lot of them. And you can see here that like I have the jump time, who was speaking most of the time. It gets a little distracting as you go like a little bit further back, so I didn't bother filling that in with all of them. But you can see, from the leadership retreat from 2022, there was talk about the 4 areas of the hub: background tasks, outreach, et cetera, et cetera. And limitations. This was manually done by me. It took a long time. I'm not saying that it's perfect, and if anybody wants to spend the time to update it and make it even better, that's great. One thing I did want to point out is if you look at some of the videos on YouTube, some of them have auto-created chapters, which is generated from sometimes slideshows that are on the screen or something. That don't match up to how you and I might categorize a video. So this is a manual activity, but it's searchable for by the terms and stuff that were used. If you're looking for ACS, we can see here in 2020 the Department of Constructions was an inspector, but we talked about a recap of the ACS field day activity. So you can jump there instead of watching the video for an hour and 16 minutes. To have that point, eventually come up. And it's outside the scope of this project to take this information and update YouTube so they have like the jump points, because this took a long time. But yeah, it's really good. And it's always interesting if you guys want to look back through COVID rolling out and everything like that through the HubCap videos. It's a trip down memory lane. And it's my plan, maybe not every month, maybe not after every video, but maybe after a couple of videos, if I have time, going through and updating this and making this like a living, continuous document.
Thank you so much, Chris. That's amazing work and such a valuable tool.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to ask if we could, or if it makes sense going forward to use Zoom AI Companion, because I find that to be very helpful for work. it summarizes meetings and can explain the context of what people are talking about and help them find out more. So basically provides a report of everything that was discussed that you can read through for people who might find it easier to comprehend reading things. I know it's kind of a side tangent to this YouTube project, but I think that might also help overall, and maybe we can translate that to YouTube in the future.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, let me know, Matt, if we want to try to give that a try to see how it goes. Yeah, I think it's a really good, it's a really good piece, to figure out different ways, make it easier for people who are starting. So I really like that. On to the next one then, unless you guys have questions. So start this and then it'll just be easier to show. So I was doing some research on City of Seattle information sources and came across a census mapping tool that they have, and I was showing it to Cindy, and she thought it would be a good thing to show everybody. So I'm going to try my best not to dig too deep into the weeds, which is census data. But basically, the U.S. Census comes out every 10 years. And then the state of Washington goes through and calculates an estimate of the different census block level data of how many people they think live in each location. So it'll be easier to show than to explain. So the city of Seattle has this, which is a full set of, sorry, trying to get a better way to say it, a full set of population block data for like each of the blocks that are within the city. So what they do is, you can see here, like I clicked on an individual block and it has different pieces of information, what they call it, but it also has population information for each of those blocks. So what you can do is you can use, hold on just a second, as a drawing tool. There we go, that kind of resets it. So you see here that the city of Seattle is populated. These are kind of each block they divide out. And if you click on one of these blocks, it tells you different information about how many people are there by year, how many households are there. But let's say that we were doing a project, or one of your hubs in Admiral. So I can click on this tool over here, which looks kind of like a blob. And if I draw it all the way around here, I can filter just to this area and then download. You see it has download options over here. I can download this information and create and get a spreadsheet that I can go through and find out what the population is within like a certain, certain distance. So for this one, the area in 2010 had about 10,000 or 11,000 people. And we can see here by 2023, it had 12,500 people. So you can download these for any, any particular area within the city. The county also has one. If any of you guys are on borders with like different cities, that somehow that would be important, with you, feel free to like reach out. You can also, I don't know how helpful this would be. They also have like a line tool that you can like filter to a line, and we'll say like within 100 feet. And now it gives me all the census blocks that are along that line. I don't know how this would exactly be helpful, but I just want to mention that it's out there. And the census, if you guys are super familiar with census information, the census really generates information or publishes information by what are called census tracts, which are bigger pieces of information, but then they extrapolate it down to this individual block level. And the reason I say I wanted to mention they extrapolate it is I wanted to save you guys the question of how do 9.517 people live in a particular location. And that's because they kind of fuzz the data or estimate the data so that, if you're the only person who is married on a block, they don't want that information to kind of leak out, that I know exactly who that is, who's answering these other questions. In case that wasn't clear, let me show it to you, some of those in more zoomed in mode. You can see the the squiggly line I was talking about, the blob. You can also edit the line itself. Like if you draw that line and it's not the way that you want, you can click on the little pencil icon and move it along. Make sure when you're downloading that you click the toggle filters. Otherwise, you'll download all 37,000 blocks of data, which is usually not what you're looking for. And different pieces of information. I just talked about census tract versus blocks. Housing units are like houses and apartments, so you can use that kind of extrapolate like how many people live in something. And this might be helpful. I just saw this when I was looking through the data. It also has group quarters, and these are people who are maybe living in like nursing homes or college dormitories. So it might be an extra helpful piece of information to double check different sources of, oh, I didn't know there was a nursing home at that location. And then the city of Seattle data doesn't use latitude and longitude. It uses an entirely different system, which is beyond the scope of this talk. And any questions?
That was your speed date with data, everybody. So where are you going to put this presentation, Chris, so that we can go back through it and go step by step?
I'm going to work with you to figure out where the correct place for it to go is.
Okay.
Great. So could you, I'm not sure if this was on an early slide. This is Gabrielle. Is the link to that Seattle geodata in the presentation? It was at the front. Okay, great.
Yeah.
And
sorry, go ahead.
It's all there. No, I was going to say, Anne should let me know if we should wait to send out the minutes till we know where you put this, or if we would add this in later. So
I strongly suggest you wait and send everything out together at one time.
Okay.
Because with our email problems, the less emails we're having to send out, the
that's
better.
helpful for me to know. So no rush, Chris, but once you know where this is going to live, next few days, you can send me and Ann the link, and I'll make sure it gets into the minutes to go out.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Perfect. Anybody else have any other questions?
That was great. And the first one too. People were putting wow in the chat. So it was very impressive.
Good.
I think we have Cindy up as the next item. Mayor Harrell's budget cuts to OEM and DON.
Yeah, we'd been hearing for some time that behind the scenes, Mayor Harrell had gone to all the departments and said, I forget the numbers. I have a really bad head cold, so my fuzzy thinking is working. But the city across all departments was going to take a big hit. And we already think the Office of Emergency Management is understaffed. We think they should be doing anyway. So I've been very alert to finding out what happened when his budget gets sausage, all the sausage is made and he releases it. Well, that just came out 2 days ago. And promptly after that, the departments, this was very interesting. This has never happened before that I remember. Catherine can correct me. The departments started sending out emails that say, this is what impact it will have to our department. And so, for example, the two departments that we really utilize the most are Department of Neighborhoods for the Neighborhood Matching Fund Grant and Office of Emergency Management. DON sent out the first one that I saw, and what the net effect to us will be is that they're cutting the amount of money that's going to go into the Neighborhood Matching Fund in the next 2 years worth of cycles. And the net effect is between 4 to 6 fewer awards each year. So typically they give out between 20 and 30. So that means they may only give out 14 to 25 awards. So net for us is competition is going to be stiffer and there's going to be less money to give out. So that's Department of Neighborhoods. That was really helpful. It let me focus right down on what I might want to write to my council member and say, this is a stupid idea. So then I checked with Office of Emergency Management, and they did not do a newsletter to type email, but they had a similar assessment that they sent me. So the net effect to Office of Emergency Management is they're going to cut 1.25 staff. The quarter person is they're just going to reduce the amount of administrative work somebody's doing out there. The full person is going to be cut from the community engagement team. So they are going from what used to be a 3-person team to 2 people. There was a person that was in that 3rd position. They left OEM and they're just not going to replace him. So that's crazy. I can't remember. I've looked it up. San Francisco's got like 17 people in their Office of Emergency Management. I'm going to go through and I'm going to look up those numbers to pass on to you guys. But if we're going to have the city do the job that we think that they should do, they need to be prepared for it. I know that when I went and talked to my council member, and we've talked this over past HubCaptain meetings, when I went and talked to my council member, Rita and Dolores and I were, very clear about they're not staffed, even when they're fully staffed, they're not staffed to keep up with the demand. And he was fully in agreement. He has to be part of the entire budget process. So it's to those who have vested interest to point out to them places where maybe mistakes have been made. And the budget has to balance. And so if they're going to put that one person back in, that one person has to come from somewhere else. But it's not like a 30-person lift. It's, we went down 1/3 of a department, but that's only one person across the whole city spectrum. The other thing, the other thing that came out, and I wasn't clear about it, was they have cut 80% of OEM's travel and training budget. And what I don't know is if that training is community training or staff training. So I'll get that clarified, and you're going to get some emails from me about this budget stuff. So I want to put it out there that when we get the data, there are meetings that the budget committee has started, because it's always about a 6-week speed date to get the budget through the city council cycle. There will be 2 public meetings, and they're nightmares. If Catherine can tell you how, you've got to go in 5 hours early and sign up to get on the agenda to speak. But one will be on October 16th and one will be on November 12th. But it's probably more effective to write letters to your council member and CC all the other council people about whatever you think might be wrong in the budget. But to help you, I will get you the data in some kind of a constructive manner. I won't be at a place where I can do that for about another day or 2. And the budget is expected to pass on November 21st. So like I said, it's a pretty short window. But the more that we can point out what we think are wrong, and you're welcome to go to any of the other departments. It's all out there. You could sign up for the select budget committee agendas and see who's being presented. On September 27th, they're going to start walking through the different departments. First up is OPCD and someone else. I have not seen OEM's date come up, and when I find that out, I'll let everybody know too. So you get what you ask for sometimes, and it's worth me making the effort to ask. And I don't know that the hubs are going to write a single letter. Ann and I are both on vacation, right? So we're not even in a place where we can coordinate very well. So I'm going to ask each of you to do what you think is right, civically act, go for it. Questions? I know it's a bummer.
So I'm going to say I'm going to follow the budget because that's what I do, although I haven't been really following as many city council meetings as I have historically. But
right.
If I can get an email out about like when the meetings are and what the videos are, so people have information, I'm happy to. I'll look at the agendas and make sure we know when the OEM is going to present their little piece of budget. But I'm happy to do that. I don't know what I want to say to my council member, but I know the guy downtown is really claiming that he is a big advocate for emergency preparedness what's his name? And so we need to think of
Keller,
that
or I
hub
mean,
in that area. If people are interested, this is something, you have to kind of put your stake in the ground. And this concerns me, but I don't have the information about, for example, when you said San Francisco has this many staff, I'm kind of like, and what are we dealing with? So the basic fact finding.
right, I know. Do not take what I, Catherine,
Yeah.
don't take what I just said. I had looked it up because I was going, I wonder what the other cities are. And I was shocked at how many more both Portland and San Francisco have, but I don't know that that's exactly the right number.
Right.
And it's also, it could be, I have to compare 12 on our staff versus 25 on their full staff. So just give me time to do the research, get good data in your hands.
Okay, so I'll send you stuff if I do my research and let you filter it.
Oh God, you guys realize I'm on vacation.
I know, that's what I'm trying to do, not have you do. Well, we'll see how the email works. I can send it to the list, but I don't think I can, but I can try.
Great. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you for tracking that. That's a big hit to their OEM community engagement staff. We will move on to around the room. And we usually start in the Northwest. So why don't we start there? Anyone from the Northwest who has something they would like to share, an update? Pat, I see your hand up.
Broadview will be putting on a Hub 101 in November 12th. It's a Tuesday evening at the Bitter Lake Community Center. We're just getting the wheels going on that.
Great.
Pat, what's a Hub 101?
We give an overview. I have a slideshow, or I don't have the slideshow, but there is a slideshow that is presented as an overview of what hubs are about. And then generally what I've done is set up some tables to mimic an actual hub setup. And we take some scripts and we run people through it. I try to have some of my more seasoned volunteers show up and help all the people that have come for the first time and are just kind of learning, help them out. So it's a practice for the previous volunteers, and it's like a learning session for new people in the community. Bitter Lake Community Center, which is like Linden and 130th. So ours is 7 to 9, by the way. So
yes, that's what I need from everyone. Ann and I both update the website, and we're always having to go, somebody just told me about this, and we're always getting this stuff verbally. So please send Ann and me, because we both have access to the website, the little write-up that goes in the calendar. Because otherwise I have to call you and say, what are you doing in this one? Anything special you want to add? So who, what, when, where, and why should they come, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that would be very, very helpful.
Pat, this class you're teaching, this is one of the ones that Cindy and I outlined. So maybe we can compare your agenda with what we thought ought to be taught at that level. And maybe we can have you test drive a class that would be helpful for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take your spin and add it to ours. Yeah, I love this idea.
So
and
this is, oh, I'm sorry.
It is open to everybody, right, Pat?
Yes.
So Pat, this is like an orientation to your community, your neighborhoods.
Yes, it's telling people what the hubs are about, but also it's a recruitment event trying to get more people to volunteer.
Okay. And then eventually you would have like a big hub drill that so many of the hubs been having in the last couple of months. That would be fine.
We try to have a drill every year, once a year, and oftentimes it's with the whole group of hubs that do a drill.
I know Ann didn't get a chance to show it, but we're trying to work on that standardized planning to say, here's a hub thing for just the community. Here's a hub thing for community and to recruit. Here's a hub 101 that practices people. Here's a hub class that focuses on some special topics. So we just didn't have time to put together that picture for you guys to see.
Okay.
Great. Thanks, Pat.
Anyone?
Oh, Sorry, Joanna, are you?
I'm getting all these ideas. Since Kim and I are, and Anne's mentoring us, these will be things that we can do for our hub, however, bi-monthly meetings that we may do. These are the kinds of things that we could actually do to get people to come.
Mhm.
Hey, I have another sideline question. Anne's been helping me with the website for teaching me how to post things for Crown Hill. But are there other, like next door neighbor or other platforms that you advertise for OEM stuff or?
Yeah, I can meet with you about that. We can try and figure out what it's kind of figuring out what you're willing to do. Not everybody is willing to jump on Facebook or Nextdoor, but I can show you, how to put stuff on the OEM calendar.
Yeah. And this is stuff that is going to be included in that that community engagement class that we're trying to put together with Department of Neighborhoods.
Okay. Great.
And this is Gabrielle. I have posted my stuff on Nextdoor and I have gotten a few people, but usually it's better if you've got a better connection with people directly in your neighborhood. That's what I found anyway. Anyone else from the Northwest that would like to share something? Anyone else from the Northeast? Okay. I know Laurelhurst had an event. Is there somebody on from Laurelhurst that would like to give us an update?
Yes, we had a great event. We were quite surprised. We really hit the publicity harder with this hub drill, and we had, by one estimate, about 60 neighbors who came, and they were, I don't want to say coerced. They were asked to read scenarios and they're asked to go through it more than one time. And we had some challenging scenarios from Anne and Cindy, things we hadn't thought about, like what do I do with this dead body? Stuff that, like what? Yeah, great scenarios. We got lucky with the weather. We were able to give away a lot of ice cream and prizes in our drawing. I think Laurelhurst is divided up into 98 clusters. I think we got at least 2 new cluster captains and maybe 1 new steering committee member. We learned a lot about how we should have our canopies arranged and how we should staff our different locations, where we needed extra people and backup. And we just got to practice a lot of different roles. We're feeling pretty good at the moment. We learned a lot. We have a lot more to do, but it was good.
Great. That's good to hear. We will move to Central West.
Not much to report here. Actually, Frank and I, with the help of Van Forest, we showed up at Summerfest. That was back in early August. The Magnolia Chamber, was it, I don't know, Chamber or the Community Council asked us to join them in their tent space at Summerfest. And so we showed up for the afternoon and made some friends and handed some stuff out and showed off the gas meter. Frank?
Right.
Cindy and I are going to make a presentation to the Magnolia Community Council at their meeting in November, and just to see if there's any interest at all in what's going on there. I've spoken with people at Rotary and the Chamber some time ago, but go back to Rotary. That the concept of islandization of Magnolia does not seem to get too much traction yet over there. So we're going to see just what we can do to get things started back up again. That's it from Magnolia.
That's it for Queen Anne.
All right. Thank you both. I think if that was Central West, then we move on to Central Core. So you're more Central East, I think is what we call it.
All right. Well, I'm going to go.
Go.
Our next event coming up is on Sunday, October 13th. We are going to do, for our attendees and members, we're going to do a recap of the Rumble Ready event in June. And then what we've started doing is like single session tutorials for each of the hub stations that are activated in the event. So we did one for greeter previously, and then on October 13th, it's going to be resource manager. So we're just gonna, with the members that show up, just review the materials in the binder, the key activities and roles, and just give everyone a little opportunity to become a little more familiar with what's involved with the different roles of hub activation, so that either consciously or unconsciously it sinks in, and if they show up and need to do something, they'll have remembered a little bit something. So that's what we have in Madison Valley. Sunday, October 13th. It'll be at MLK Fame Community Center, which is where our hub box is located, but we'll use a room in the center. So it will be inside. Think it is 1 o'clock.
And you'll send that to us to put on the calendar?
Yeah, I'll send that to you and Ann.
That sounds great. It sounds like those tutorials might be a future best practices item to share, depending on how far along you get with them.
I can tell you that the other person in Central East, Sarah, couldn't be here tonight. She's also on vacation, and they have a after action debrief with their team so that they can get all their details, and then they're going to come back and give us their debrief of what happened at their exercise.
Madison Park had an incredible drill Sunday, and they had people from hubs. Yeah, all of us, a lot of us participated, and there were some new things that were being tried out, and I think that's gonna, yeah. So I'm looking forward to Sarah's report back.
Now we'll move on to Southwest. Anybody here from Southwest?
I've got, like, everybody's sent me. Admiral, you guys met the new hub captain for Admiral, so she's just signed up the day before I left town. So we're just meeting with her, and the previous hub captain took her to show her the box and discovered that they had not done maintenance on it. So they're going to have to drill that lockout because it's frozen. So this is your annual reminder. Here comes winter. Get out there and put that dry lube into your keyholes, because once that freezes, it's going to cost you $200 to drill it out. Fauntleroy hub, Chris is traveling today. She has gotten permission from the church to relocate the box in a different place on church property, and she just got the MOA go ahead from the church leaders last night. That's all the specific hub things. I have one thing that I inherited somehow. There was a zombie run last year, and I staffed that on behalf of all the hubs because it looked like it was going to be a big, cool event. They're not doing that this year. He just let me know today that they're going to do instead a scavenger hunt up at Jefferson Park, and it will happen on November 1st, which is before I get back in town. So if anybody wants to represent the hubs at a scavenger hunt, let me know. But I am thinking there's no real active hubs up there in that area of Beacon Hill. I'm just not going to worry about it, but I thought I would put it out there in case somebody's got a passion for kids and Halloween sort of stuff. Thank you, the Ballard folks, for the box that we moved out of Crown Hill and got over into the Salvation Army. And so they're going to start working with their team and on their grant next. I see head shaking, so I got that right.
Anybody from Southeast?
Ron's here from Southeast.
Hi, Ron.
This month, we gave a 30-minute presentation to the Rainier Beach Community Club at their monthly meeting, which was attended by approximately 30 people. And we provided a 30-minute slide presentation to them that was produced by one of our volunteers, Brandy Rank. And basically the slide presentation included basically a history of our hub, and also kind of a overview of the hub network and the role of ACS in that network. And then a few days later, at the community club put on what was called a meaningful movie night, and its topic was a film called Unprepared, which compared what happened in Japan with the devastation that happened there in the I can't remember the name of the town, but I can remember Sendai. Japan was devastated. But anyway, the documentary, they were comparing the preparation that they have in Japan compared to the preparation they had along the Oregon coast. And there's quite a contrast there. One of the issues was where they would place like school buildings. I think it was in the seaside area of the Oregon coast where there was some controversy over where they would place a school. And it seemed as though they were going to place this school basically in the same devastation zone as it was, which didn't make a lot of sense to folks. There was a panel discussion afterwards, and Anne was there representing the network. Anne, if you just want to add anything.
Yeah, it was an interesting movie. I put a link to it. I think it's only 30 minutes, although it seemed longer than that. It's scary. It is
Yeah.
really scary. They really highlight the tsunami that could happen after a large earthquake. They they kept talking about that tsunami and showing the ocean, and yet the film was really it was a little Portland centric, and the two are not the same. You know, you're going to get devastated by a tsunami if you're on the coast, and it's the subduction, the Cascade subduction zone earthquake that shakes. Yeah, I always get a little triggered when people show those really devastating tsunami videos when, you know, that's not really our situation here in Seattle. We are far enough away from the coast that if the subduction zone does go, the tsunami will come. It won't be near as devastating as on the coast, and I think it's like an hour and a half or something like that to get to us. It is not something that happens right away. So it's just hard to distinguish between the two different kinds of earthquakes, whether it's out on the off the coast or right underneath the city of Seattle. So anyway, it was an alarming video.
Yeah. However, from the presentation from that meeting, we were able to recruit about a half dozen new volunteers. So that was good.
Great.
And so what we're gonna do probably in November, we're gonna have a little party at my house and welcome these new volunteers and probably do a mini 101. You know, just getting people acquainted with each other. I think that's important, you know, because particularly Rainier Beach, I mean, you know, not everybody lives on the same block, and so we're coming from kind of like different areas. So we're going to do that probably in November sometime. But in October, since we weren't able to participate in the back to school event that we usually do with our back group down at the Rainier Beach Community Center, we're going to, though, participate in what's called Boo Bash, which is, you know, an opportunity for a lot of community groups to kind of showcase their programs and at the same time pass out treats to the kids. But what we're going to do is we're going to be passing out those Band-Aid kits that we've put together that we've usually put into the backpacks during back to school. And so we'll be handing out a few treats as well as the Band-Aid kits. Yesterday, I went and picked up 150 of the backpacks from Office of Emergency Management, which they received from the University of Washington. And so we might be, you know, coming up with something, you know, maybe a little raffle or something to at least give away, you know, maybe a half dozen of those backpacks. Or one of the ideas anyway that came up, I think at the community club meeting, was this idea of kind of focusing in on recruiting people who want to learn about radios and then finding some way to purchase more radios. So we have, you know, like a network of neighbors who can communicate using radios. So I think that was one idea that came up at one of these meetings. So I think that's it from Southeast or from Rainier Beach.
Lakewood Seward Park, we've been doing a fair amount of outreach. And one of the things that we have discovered in our outreach is there are a lot of people who have done zero and are just really not prepared at all. So we created a new flyer that's strictly aimed at the people who are starting from square one. We made it really simple. It's got 3 things on it. I'll share it with you later. But anyway, we went to the community garage sale in July. There's they produce a map. The community club produces a map, and 2 of us split up the map. And we went. She went to 10 sites. I went to 10 sites. We passed out 200 and some flyers that day. I don't know where they all went. You know, we don't have any way to quantify the impact, but we had a lot of conversations that day. Both of us. We did a debriefing after, so that was good. And then my hub has really gotten behind the Great Shakeout coming up on 10/17. Don't forget. And so we got the community club to send it out to their mailing list about the Great Shakeout, and they have 500 and some names on their mailing list. And we also have now, this has been true for about a year, one of our hub members goes to every single meeting of the Columbia City Business Association and tries to keep us in front of them all the time. And so she gave a little mini presentation about the Great Shakeout and highlighted the things that businesses should do to secure their workplaces in the event of a quake. And so that was kind of a win for us because kind of twofer. And yeah, that's about it for now.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.